going on, guys? I'm Maze, and recently, a brand new episode for the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime aired on TV. Episode 108, Inside Tapu Fine's Mist, which was a emotional time watching the episode. It was that good. So because of that, I've decided for today's video that I will review this latest episode. Hopefully getting yourself to check out the episode too, if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments down below for today's question of the day though, what you personally thought of this episode. I'd love to hear. But with that intro now said, let's jump right into this review. So the episode begins off with a neat recap of what happened in the previous episode, aka Kiyomi obtaining the Flight Anium Z. However, him, alongside with Ash, then discover a magazine in the Pokemon Center with the front cover showcasing the old guy they had met during the previous episode, in which Hapu, who was with the gang, states that the old guy is actually her grandfather, which confuses our boy Duo as he had met him. Because of this, Hapu then comes to the conclusion that Ash and Kiyomi got trapped in Tapu Fine's Mist, which the mist allows people who have departed from the world come back temporarily. You know, essentially bringing back the dead, which is why we got to see Kiyomi's grandfather in the previous episode as well. Before we move on though, I just want to state that this idea of Tapu Fine bringing back the dead is such a strikingly tremendous distinctive. I never thought Sun and Moon would ever go that far to tell what would be soon a depressing story. Or just the anime in general, to be honest, as it's a kid's show. It's so pleasant to witness. And as we will soon see, it even teaches more lessons about life and death towards the audience, which as always are fantastic lessons to learn. Getting back on track with this episode though, Lily, upon hearing about Tapu Fine's powers, states to everybody that another reason why Gladion was on Pony Island was to meet with Tapu Fine and hopefully meet their father, who they believe had passed away. Which Tapu then replies that she understands why Gladion and Lily would want to meet their father, but it's very dangerous to do so, as if you don't leave the mist, getting caught up in your emotions with your deceased loved ones, you could end up never returning to the real world, which is a teeny bit dark and melancholic if you think about it. Going towards Lana now though, once she hears of this power Tapu Fine holds, she immediately looks towards her best friend Mallow to see how she felt about the situation, and well, she ended up walking outside to take a breather, in which is then revealed in a conversation between her and Lana only, because Lana insisted it should be them two only, that Mallow's mother died when Mallow was only young, due to illness, in which we also received a flashback of Mallow enjoying time with her mother and how she even ended up getting Bonsweet, who of course now is Selena. Mallow's mom actually caught it just to make her daughter happy, which was a very heartwarming and very cute scene. Not to forget too, but it's actually quite satisfying to know how Mallow actually got her partner Pokemon. I always love those kind of flashbacks. It's one reason why I particularly like the episode in which Clement tells the story of how he met his Bunnelby. I honestly wish this could happen for every companion who already has a Pokemon on them before meeting Ash. Anyway, regardless of that, we then receive another flashback in which Mallow starts to shout at her mother in the hospital. Why though? Well, that was because Mallow hated how her mother kept apologizing for whatever, saying I'm sorry for doing this, or I'm sorry for that, despite the woman doing nothing wrong, and Mallow even knowing that she's not doing anything wrong. The young and rather rash Mallow even going as far to say, quote, I hate you, which ended up being the last words Mallow ever said to her mother, as after that day, her mother had passed away. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. That scene maybe let out a few tears, along with seeing present day Mallow then start to cry, with Lana just pushing Mallow's head against her chest and comforting her. Mallow had to suffer such a trauma all these years of knowing that those last words were the last words she ever got to say to her mother. And I know I personally suffered from trauma before, so I have a rough idea of how painful this would have been for Mallow. Not to forget too, that she was only young back then as well, so it would have been even more difficult to cope with due to that young mind. I don't cry that much when it comes to Pokemon 2. In other TV shows, maybe, but Pokemon, no. The only times I ever cried was on the final episode of Diamond and Pearl when I was 11 years old and during XY's final episode. So, that alone, forgetting what I said before this, should just tell you how much I felt from the raw emotion this scene showcased, because I cried. By the way, before anybody comments, yes, I was sad during episode 21 and 79 of this series. You can clearly tell from my reviews I made on those episodes. However, I managed to somehow endure my feelings during those episodes to not let out any tears. Or if I said I did, it was most likely only 1 or 2 tears. Whereas here, I just can't help but let out quite a few. Which also makes this, in my opinion, the most powerful, depressing scene in the Sun and Moon series. Man, what a hard scene to swallow. Are we not even halfway through the episode yet? Moving on now though, Lorna asks Mallow when comforting her if she wants to meet her mother because of this power Tapu Fini holds. However, Mallow says that she doesn't, in which the episode then moves on to Mallow cheering up a little bit and farming with her friends at Hapu's house. Now sure, you may think there's nothing much to say about this scene at all, however, it stuck out to me a lot, and that is because Mallow was smiling, despite just crying over somebody she deeply cared about. It shows that over these years, she at least toughened up to still put on a smile for her friends, which is very remarkable. She's a very strong individual for doing that. And again, I can relate to Mallow here. At first during my trauma, I may have been in the dumps, but I learned to toughen up after a couple of months and bring both positive vibes to both myself and my friends, who I neglected because of my depression. Positivity is always the best medicine. No matter what you go through, just remember to wake up every day with positive thoughts on your mind, and that will eventually cleanse the sadness and make you feel very good inside. Negative energy is something you always want to avoid. I honestly could ramble on and on of what else I've learned personally to help you also if you're going through something. Hell, I'm even on a kind of spiritual journey at this moment. But you're here for the episode, and I already know that this review will probably be the longest one I've ever made. So, let's just continue forward. After doing some farming, Mistfriend starts to appear around Hapu's house, and that is because, as said by Hapu, 3 individuals who really wanted to meet their beloved ones who had passed away, in which Tapu Fini granted them that wish. This was Lily, who wants to meet her father, even finding Gladion wants to get to Lost in the Mist, who also wants to meet his father, Torracat, who wants to meet Stoutland, and I think Ash also, so his Pokemon felt happier, and of course, Mallow, who wants to meet her mother, despite stating to Lana that she didn't want to meet her. Her actually hiding her sadness and wishes away. Which also goes to show that Mallow really didn't want to bother anybody with her problems, despite the fact that Ash and her friends would have totally helped her. Which is kinda sorrowful when you take a moment to think about it. I definitely felt a lot of sympathy for Mallow in this episode. And again, a lot of relation. I probably would have done the same. Focusing on Ash and Torracat though, they indeed get to meet Stoutland in this mist, its spirit. Which alone, just seeing Torracat rub itself against Stoutland was too much for me to handle. You can clearly tell how much love Torracat has for this dog. But Torracat then goes as far to show Stoutland that it's mastered Fire Fang and even learned Flame Charge. As of course, Torracat also looked up to Stoutland as a mentor. Which these moves actually do impress the doggo. Torracat getting the satisfaction it was hoping for such a long time. This making me let out some tears again. Like, bro, why is Sun and Moon doing this to us? It's not fair. Nah, it totally is fair, because it's just such a sweet episode. Torracat even grows more in this scene actually. As once showcasing its Ember, it actually turns into a Fire Blast, a brand new move, which Stoutland then trains with Torracat to then master that move fully. Which was endearing to see the two training alongside each other once again. And I've just always loved the progression we've got to witness from this cat. that being why, along with its perplexing story with Stoutland, why it's my favourite member of Ash's Alolan team. Moving forward to Mallow now though, she indeed gets to meet her mother, and she immediately says sorry to her for saying I hate you many years ago, in which her mother understood and actually started to thank Mallow for everything she had done for her in her life, no longer saying sorry, in hopes to hopefully make Mallow feel happier as well. Which seeing that, man, it was heartwarming, very charming. Mallow does indeed start to feel better, and instead of acting like how her mother did back then with saying sorry, she also exchanged lovely thank yous to her mother, which makes her mother feel blessed. Overall, the entire scene was just very attractive, one of the other most powerful scenes this episode had to offer. At Tapu though, she decides to travel to the Ruins of Hope to beg Tapu Fini to let out Ash, Mallow and Lily out of the mist, otherwise, like she said, they'll be trapped in the mist forever. In which Tapu Fini, who emerged at the Ruins of Hope, pretty much seems to ignore Hapu at first, and just stares at her, in which Hapu responds to this by attacking Tapu Fini with Goluk's flash cannon, as she cared that deeply for her new friends. This being foreshadowed in the previous episode actually, which I forgot to talk about in that review. It was definitely one of the most appealing scenes I've seen from Hapu as well. As of course, if you're a regular viewer, you will know that I've already fallen in love with her character. In fact, I'd go as far to say she's one of my favourite characters in the Sun and Moon series, which I never expected to happen. To make her character more fulfilling too, Tapu Fini actually summons Hapu's grandfather now, the old Kahuna, and he announces that Tapu Fini now accepts Hapu as an island Kahuna, thanks to her attacking it. This showing and concluding her growth over the previous episodes, which I really adore this development. In response to, Tapu Fini stops the mist so Ash and his friends could be saved. But of course, this meant Mallow had to say goodbye to her mother and Torracat to Stoutland, which Torracat happily accepted Stoutland as sending this time around thanks to getting the satisfaction it wanted from its mentor and knowing it has Ash to love and train for it now. And Mallow, despite wanting to see her mother a little bit longer, accepted that she had to ascend again, but at least felt content with herself now that she no longer ended their relationship on a bad note, despite her mother being fine with it beforehand. After this, because of the gratitude Mallow and her mother showcased, it made many flowers bloom in the area, which makes the mythical Pokemon Shaymin appear, who of course is the gratitude Pokemon. After Hapu, Mallow, Ash and Lily and Gladion reunite with their other friends, they of course notice the Shaymin, who Mallow decided to bring along with her. Having it's revealed by Rotom that it's the gratitude Pokemon and that it needs this flower to grow so it can then transform into its sky form and fly away. So, Mallow decides to take care of this Pokemon until that happens, which I never expected in a million years. But I'm at least grateful that Shaymin actually serves a somewhat role. I bet you that it will transform into its sky form towards the end of the series, where Ash has to say goodbye to his Alolan friends, but is at least grateful for the time he had with them, which would be the perfect ending. Hopefully if you didn't understand why Mallow got the Shaymin, that my explanation helped you as well, and hopefully accepting the fact that Mallow has it, despite Sun and Moon pretty much handing legendaries and mythicals out to everybody. It's a shame they can never fully keep one though, but at least their stories are impressive. Regardless of that though, the episode then ends off with Lily and Gladion revealing that they didn't get to meet their father, in which Hapu responds to that must mean he's alive and well, which surprises our duo, and Gladion immediately sets off to tell his mother the news, which in return, I guess will start the Melton and Morn arc, which is great. Meanwhile though, upon hearing Hapu is the Island Kahuna now, Ash challenges her to a battle once again, in which she finally accepts and even promises Gladion one once he returns. But before that, we've got to watch the ritual of her becoming the Kahuna fully in the next episode. With that story now said, along with the majority of my thoughts, let's now move on to my final overall thoughts regarding this episode. Wow, what an episode. I knew this episode was going to be outstanding judging by the summaries and previews we had received, despite putting that aside before watching this episode, but it still ended up surpassing those original expectations and kept surprising me when watching every new scene. It was that phenomenal of an episode. In fact, it's safe to say that this episode is definitely in my top 3 all-time favorite Sun and Moon episodes, and maybe even the Pokemon anime as a whole. Hell, I'm not the only one to think it's that extraordinary of an episode too, as this episode was trending worldwide for a good 3 hours or so on Twitter, which is very astonishing. Of course, the reason why I and many people are praising this episode so much though, is because of the plot and the themes, if you couldn't tell already from the thoughts I've already delivered. It's a very important message regarding life, death, and the time you have in this world. You could even relate to Mallow in this episode, which honestly makes him one of the most down-to-earth characters within this series. I may not particularly like her goal compared to other characters, and how the anime even handled that goal at times, but I can still at least appreciate how written she is as a human with emotions. Hell, this episode was even foreshadowed in previous episodes. For instance, in episode 24, in which Ash's mom returns to attend an open house day at the Pokemon school, we see Mallow blushing over Lana's mother taking care of Lana's sister, which shows how long Mallow has been longing for motherly love. There's been even more instances, such as episode 39, however, this video is already long enough, so we'll just stick with the one example I provided. It should give a good enough picture. But that foreshadowing just makes this episode even more satisfying, you know? Now sure, I know one complaint some people had about this episode is that Mallow's mother never got mentioned before this episode, but to me, the sudden reveal in this episode that Mallow's mother had passed away just makes it more heartbreaking, as if her name got mentioned in a previous episode telling us she passed away, then we would have expected an episode like this, which would have taken some of the excitement away. Just altogether when collecting the plot, it's one of the most powerful episodes we've ever received from the Pokemon anime, because of those messages, which is very fulfilling. Not only that, but Sun and Moon once again shows us that it can be serious whenever it chooses to be, despite focusing more on comedy more than ever before, even including dark themes. I never thought Sun and Moon would ever cross these boundaries, or just the anime in general, meeting deceased loved ones. Oh yeah, to at least mention one more thing regarding this plot though, seeming as Happy got development, I really appreciate how everybody in this arc has developed in one way or another, making everybody feel even as a character. Whereas before, it felt like only Lily and Ash were the only ones getting development. Hell, Lily basically took a back seat in this arc, which I really admire that too. Especially because, even with the foreshadowing in this episode, that she will get to focus in the next arc regarding her father and maybe even her goal. Anyway, with my thoughts on this plot now said, let's now move on to the animation and music aspects. Firstly for the animation, it looked fluid throughout the whole thing, but my favourite particular highlights have to be all the raw emotion we saw from Mallow, it looked really stunning, the effect they used when every deceased person ascends as spirits, and finally, the scene in which Mallow and her mother create all the flowers. It was just extremely beautiful. As for the music aspects, every tune fit in this episode, but my favourite particular highlights have to come from the XY League music and the very bright, gleaming tune that played when Mallow departed from her mother. It was a very pretty tune. With that said though, that concludes all these sections for this review. So all that's left is to give a rating for this episode, which I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I literally don't see anything wrong with this episode whatsoever. It's an unbelievable, marvelous, and powerful piece of media. If you're watching this video and don't watch Sun and Moon, what are you doing? You're missing out on exciting and powerful stories like this. I definitely recommend that you watch this episode if you haven't already. If you have watched this episode though, then once again let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode though. I'd love to hear. As for everybody, now finishes off this review. So, if you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to consider leaving a like, a share, and if you're new here, a subscribe along with hitting that bell icon to stay in loop with all things Pokemon anime related. If you want to support this channel in any further way, I also have a Patreon. Link in the description below. Thank you for watching, everybody. This is Entity Maze, signing out.